FYF Sports, man, it's Lamont, man. We back with another reaction video, man. Today, I had to react to this video right here because I saw the title for one. Live call-in show, TicketTV. Stephen A. Smith rips LeBron's era as being the softest era. Now, this is definitely a conversation that I would have jumped in on. Just had too much stuff going on this morning. So I actually missed out on this conversation. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to chime in it. I'm going to chime in and I'm going to give my 2 cents with a reaction video. That's the best way to handle this particular situation. And so before we even hear what these guys on the particular panel have to say about this era being soft. So you're either calling the actual players soft, or you're calling the rules, the way the rules are formulated, that they're restricted and forced to play under soft. So the one thing I won't ever do is I'm not going to call another man soft unless I'm ready to fight. So let's not act like anybody in this panel is ready to walk up to a Ben Simmons, walk up to a Jay Crowder or Jimmy Butler and say that y'all soft. Like, are y'all gonna walk up to these NBA players and start saying y'all soft? No. So we know. So I'll go ahead and I'll use deductive reasoning and I'll assume that they're saying the way the rules are constructed are soft. Which is, again, the rules as constructed are something that these players can't control. And, I mean, football, if we look at the NFL changed rules for player safety. How you tackle the quarterback, how you can tackle a wide receiver, shot blocks being legal. It's for player safety. So a lot of the things that you could have done 60s, 70s, 80s, even 90s in football are eliminated out of the game, not because of being soft, but because as we learned more about our bodies and health and how players are after they finish playing, some of these rules are made for player safety and player health. That's it right there. Some of these rules are made for player safety, player health. And to say that those rule changes make the game, a lot of people say the NFL is soft now. A lot of people say that. They say the rules make it soft. Even current players say that the rules make it soft. You know, because they all sign up to play a game, which is tackle football, and they feel restricted in being able to do that. But at the end of the day, the NFL and the NBA are both brands that they have to market on TV to the masses. And they have to be careful and cautious about the product that they put out there. So I'm curious, and that's just my take on it. I don't think this era is soft. I think the easiest way to show that NBA basketball now isn't soft is what we can do is, and anybody in this particular chat that thinks that NBA players in today's game are soft, I welcome you to come to Phoenix. I'll put you on the court with some Phoenix Suns G League or NBA players. You guys can run a couple games, and then after you're done, then you can come back and give me your assessment if the game is not physical or if they're soft. That's what I want you to do. I know that's not going to happen. I know a lot of these guys, maybe only tickets, actually play with real NBA guys. But I think people are so quick to say soft, I don't think they understand the true connotation or true meaning of it. Because on the basketball court or just in general, when you call another man soft, that's one of the most demeaning things you can call somebody. So I'm careful to call another man soft. Now, I will say that the rules are soft. I don't agree with the rules. I don't agree with the fact that Kristaps Porzingis was ejected for walking up and getting in somebody's face to protect his teammate when no punches were thrown. I don't agree with the fact that if you throw an air punch, you get a technical foul. I don't agree with the fact that if you have incidental contact and you actually hit a guy in the face, this is designated as a flagrant foul. Yes, those rules are unnecessary. I think those rules could be considered soft, but at the end of the day, NBA has to consider what? Player safety. And why does the NBA have to consider these things? Well, the NBA and the NFL, they have to consider these types of rule changes because you have a lot of players from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s who are now participating in class action lawsuits against these leagues for not addressing their player health while they played. See, but I don't know if that's something that these guys are really willing to touch on, because again, that might be too far above them right there. That might be too much for them to even discuss. We're gonna go ahead and get to this video. I'm really curious to see what these guys got to say about this. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't done so already before we get started with the video, and make sure you tune in and hit that notification bell when we go live. I want to start seeing more of you guys tune into those live chats, but I'm going to go ahead and play this video. I want to hear what they got to say about this particular issue. We're going to stop it and pause it whenever we see fit, because again, I like doing these reaction videos because now I can pause it. That's my mute button. I can shut people up, and then we can rebuttal sometimes, because I have a sense, I have a feeling, because of this platform, there's going to be a little bit of finessing going on, finessing other facts.
Well, go ahead, Aaron.
This is
Yeah, go ahead.
Shout out to my boy Jacob Jennings and that Cash App Big Bang shit, and shout out to the homie D Rob and the PayPal with the donation, man. Salute, my brother.
This is what I'm trying to say. It's not a race thing.
Yeah, right.
Competition thing. Let me finish talking. Hold on, because everybody wants to draw parallels between KD doing it and LeBron doing it. But this is what I'm saying. If you have the face of the league who is joining up and manufacturing a super team, what is that? What's the message that you're giving to the rest of the league? You need to team up if you want to compete with me. That's the first message. The second message is this is okay. The third message is this is the norm. This is the new norm. So no, it's not a race thing. It's not about choosing your own destiny. It's about changing the way that competition plays out in the league, the way that competition looks in the league. Because you could have competed with Dwayne Wade. You could have competed with Chris Bosh. So it's not KD making the move that he made. LeBron is the one who opened the floodgates. He gave the rest of the league the okay.
Look, she just want to blame it on LeBron. Yeah, hold on, bro.
So we're going to pause it, and we're going to debunk it. We're going to pause it. We're going to debunk it. Now, we hear somebody talking in the chat. It sounds like a lady is talking in the chat. And she's saying that because LeBron James opened the floodgate for player movement, player freedom, giving players the ability to move around and choose their own destination, do what's best for their families. Well, because of that, he changed the level of competition. He changed the way teams can compete in this era. Okay, even though I don't agree with that sentiment, because again, that's your own personal feelings. Even though I don't agree with that sentiment, I don't think it changed any level of competition in NBA, because it's not like he went undefeated in the finals. There were other great teams. There are other great players in this league. There was enough talent to go around in this league to where other teams could also be equally as dominant or great. So aside from that, yes, in this era today, players have more freedom to sign more different types of contracts. Players in this particular era are more prone to signing short-term contracts because the market changes. The market changes in 1 or 2 years. Max money goes up. If you can get more max money, go get more max money. That's a smart move. I consider that to be a smart business move. If I want to go play in, if I'm playing in OKC, but all of my family lives in Los Angeles, and I want to go play in Los Angeles, I want to be around the beach, I want to be in a bigger market, I want to be in a big city. Now, in this particular era, you have the opportunity to go choose your own destination. All right, if you feel that shifts the level of competition, fine, I will give you that. But I also want you to consider this. In the late 80s and 90s, the NBA front office and the NBA shifted the level of competition. The NBA added 6 expansion teams to the NBA. And when you add expansion teams to the NBA, do you know what also comes with expansion teams? It's something called an expansion draft. Players like BJ Armstrong, who was with the Chicago Bulls, got plucked from the Bulls and put on one of these expansion teams against his will. He didn't want to leave the Bulls. He wanted to stay with his own team. He wanted to win more championships. But certain players got plucked from their teams in an expansion draft. Certain players who wanted to be loyal to their team, who wanted to stay with their team for their entire careers, were forced by the NBA to get pulled from their team and may have to go to Vancouver. You'll have to go to Toronto and play. You'll have to go to Miami and play because of expansion teams. Forced, not on their own will. And that also changed the level of competition in the 90s. Because now you've spread your talent so thin. Is the game as competitive as it once was? Were those expansion teams competitive for years? You know, how long did it take for the Miami Heat to become relevant? How long did it take for the Grizzlies to become relevant? They were never relevant in Vancouver. They had to move to Memphis, back into the United States, to even get some relevancy because they couldn't get free agents. Toronto struggled for years and years and years. And it wasn't until they went into the rebuild process, when Chris Bosh left, that they started to put more emphasis on player development and the draft. And actually making moves that could lead to winning championships. Which is one of the if Chris Bosh never leaves the Toronto Raptors, what they did last year, getting to the finals with Kawhi Leonard, does never happen. It never happens. They may stay complacent and just be a mediocre team. But I'll stay on topic. The expansion draft, you guys. The NBA forced players to go to certain teams. So the NBA changed the balance of competition in the 90s and late 80s by adding teams to the NBA. This is something the players didn't have control over. Implementing an expansion draft, forcing players who were on current teams to go to these expansion teams. And then say, yeah, okay, now go compete. You're taking really good players, you're putting them on trash teams and saying, you know what, it's going to line our pockets, but just go over here and be trash. We don't care about what you had. We don't care about what you had going on over here. We don't care about the fact that your kid might have been in a special school in this city. Just go over here to this city, go across the border, go to Miami, go to Vancouver, go to Toronto, do this. Not only that, it also affected the draft. These expansion teams got additional draft picks. So that took away from what other teams could have selected. So when the NBA chooses to shift the level of competition to line their pockets for money, why do we not give them the same energy? But when LeBron James chooses to use the CBA to his advantage, go to Miami and play where he wants to play, it's a big deal. It shifts the balance of power in the NBA. But the NBA did it to line their own pockets by adding 6 teams into the NBA. Players complained about it. Larry Bird, Dr. J, Dennis Rodman, Charles Barkley, Jerry Sloan. All of these guys said the expansion draft was no good. It's going to dilute and diminish the level of competition in the league. Nobody cared then. Nobody cared. But when LeBron James makes a move to one team, he's by himself shifting the balance of power at NBA. He's setting the tone for other players to copy this. When that's not the case, because we have a lot of players like Damian Lillard. We have a lot of players like Bradley Beal. We have a lot of guys who are willing to stay home with their own teams and be successful. But also in this NBA, we have guys like Kyrie Irving, We have guys like Jimmy Butler who are in situations who forced their way out by trade, by just acting an ass the entire time they're there, and they forced their way out. Or you have another classification of player who says, you know what, I'm going to wait till I'm a free agent. I'm going to give the team 7 years to build around me. And if I don't like what they're doing here, I don't like the direction they're going, then I'll just leave. Either way you look at it, the NBA's shifted the balance of competition in the NBA in the 90s, whether you want to admit it or not, but they did. But it's okay for the NBA to do it and line their own pockets. The NBA did not care about the level of competition or the balance of competition. But when players of this era do it, it's a big deal because they're doing it their own way. See, and that's where the biases comes in. Because again, this is something that I guarantee you these LeBron haters or people on this panel won't bring up. They're scared to touch on those topics because then you have to speak on some of the negatives of the 90s. They're scared to do it. They're scared to talk to me about it. And this is one of the reasons why when I come into these conversations, when I come into these chats, it's no dialogue. I can't go back and forth with anybody. It's just shouting and talking over. Because again, when I break down that point right there, how can you refute that? Anybody, if this comes up again, just ask about the expansion draft. Didn't that shift the level of competition? We'll get back to the video. I'll if I can stand it, I'll listen to some more of these nonsensical arguments. But we'll listen to a little bit more of it. If it gets too ridiculous, we'll just shut it off. We'll shut it down and we'll end the video.
Hold on, bro. I understand what she's saying. My words, I said it wrong. Instead of me saying putting my career in the honor of a white man, I should have said putting my career in the honor of put my career in the hands of an owner. So that's what I do apologize about saying that, Alan. You know, I don't mean for the.
You said it the right way, Steve. Don't switch up.
Bro, because that's what I'm saying. Some of your words can come off wrong. When you say a white man, it do seem like racist, bro. That's all.
I'll say it right here. I've said it on our live stream. For whatever reason, we have a problem with people of our own skin color doing well for themselves. We have a problem with people of our own skin color making moves that benefit themselves and not necessarily caring about the overall well-being of the NBA. You know, to be honest, I don't care if LeBron James goes to Miami and shifts the level of competition in an entire NBA, collects a whole bunch of money, and does things the way he wants to do them. Grown man making grown man decisions. That's one of the things that as black people, that's something that we've been striving and asking for all of these years. And when a player exercises that right, now we as black people find a way to cry and complain about it. It shifts the level of competition for the NBA. When I can look back on the 90s, and the NBA itself shifted the level of competition by adding 6 expansion teams, diluting the level of competition, plucking players from other teams that didn't want to leave just to line their pockets with more money. But we want to cry about players like LeBron James. Again, it's starting. Again. And so, yeah, he said it correct. Don't backtrack on what you say, because normally what you say the first time is what you mean. Do not backtrack on what you say, because you said it correct. And it's not necessarily a race thing with regards to whites. It's a race thing with regards to blacks. We hate seeing each other do well. That's all. So we see who it is right here. Just hates to see black people do well. That's all it is.
No, just being real. You know,
what's the difference between
everything about race?
What's the difference between executives creating super teams and players creating
exactly? So that's what I'm saying. Putting my career in the hands of an owner. An owner could be black or white, but what I'm saying is the fact that he chose to, hey, I'm gonna choose my destination instead of putting my career in the hands of an owner. Whether what color you is, I'm still putting my career in the hands of you. So I'd rather choose my own destination. That's what I'm saying.
No, but hold on, Steve, it's that's
Once
the
Boston
case,
had that
no,
big
no,
three, it
Steve,
was a wrap. What everybody was gonna do? Everybody was like, "Yo, we ain't losing to
Steve,
Boston."
let me tell you something. You're
We got
wrong
team
because no, you're wrong
That's
because his destination was in his hands because he could have stayed in Cleveland and built around him.
Okay, so let
Lost
me.
to Boston. He would have lost to Boston.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
Beating Boston.
Hold on.
He could have built the team right where he was.
Right.
Not-
I totally understand.
Hey, when people start using that argument, saying that LeBron James coulda, shoulda, woulda stayed in Cleveland, that's fan talk. That's you being mad that your team had no chance in hell to beat LeBron James. That's fan talk. You know, as long as he stayed in Cleveland, everybody knows this. As long as he stayed in Cleveland, he was beatable. LeBron James was beatable because he had an organization that wasn't willing to do what it took to bring in the necessary free agents to become elite. The one thing about the Boston Celtics, what did the Boston Celtics do? They fired their GM. They brought in who? They brought in a guy named Danny Ainge. What did Danny Ainge immediately do when he got there? As a GM, he started to do his job. He said, you know what? He went to the owner and said, you know, for us to win, we got to go shake things up. We got to go start using every potential favor or advantage that we have. We need to go get trades. We need to go collect draft picks. And what's the first thing that they did? They created the Big Three. They brought in Kevin Garnett to add to Paul Pierce. They brought in Ray Allen to add to that core group and created the first Big Three. They surrounded those guys with very, very strong presence of veterans. They went out and drafted a guard like Rajon Rondo. See, that's what a good GM will do for you. LeBron spent 7 years in Cleveland. So, LeBron spent 7 years in Cleveland. I want you guys to tell me, while LeBron was in Cleveland, tell me the draft picks. Tell me all of the first round draft picks that came to that team and actually made a difference. Because drafting is the responsibility of the team. That's a skill. You have to be able to assess talent. You know, did they draft well? Okay, in free agency, did they sign any big name free agents? Were they able to lure the top free agents to Cleveland to play alongside LeBron James? Did they have great player development? Did those guys surrounding LeBron James get better on a yearly basis? Because when we look back on the Bulls, Scottie Pippen got better every year. And if you watch, there's videos out of Scottie Pippen talking about how he was able to get better. He spoke about his brothers and how he trained with them over the summers. And they intently focused on making him a better and stronger player every year that he went back. A lot of 90s fans will credit that to Jordan. It really wasn't Jordan. So when we look at the Cleveland Cavaliers team, what did they actually do? What hope was given to LeBron that this front office would build a championship team around him? They didn't draft well. They didn't sign great free agents. They were always good, but they weren't good enough. That's the truth of the matter. So let's not act like he didn't give almost a decade to Cleveland and almost a decade to that front office to get the job done. So the failure in Cleveland was the front office. They failed. And because they failed, they lost LeBron James. That's what's supposed to happen when you fail. You're not supposed to get rewarded by continuous failure. You don't reward these bad GMs by sticking around when they continuously fail. Because at the end of the day, for all the shortcomings that LeBron actually had on the court, that front office failed him even more. Because it's pathetic that no one here, without running to Google, can tell me any draft pick that they had that played major role into the success of the Cavaliers his first 7 years there. Nobody can. And it's sad. You know, I guess this is their way of finding a new narrative to throw stones at LeBron James. I'm just here to give the unbiased approach to it. That's all I'm doing. Unbiased approach. And I'm not going to sit here and act like LeBron James didn't do everything he could to win a championship in Cleveland when he was there on the court. The one thing I know for a fact is that front office did not do everything they could off the court to give him the supporting cast that he needed. And that's a fact.
I understand what you...
cast, and if he was as great as he was, the supporting cast...
No, here's the thing. Hold on.
Hold on, bro. Let her go ahead. Let her go ahead and finish.
And don't talk about, and we're not going to talk about Boston. Boston, that was off-season trading that happened through the draft. And any other team, I'm telling you, LeBron opened the floodgates. You guys can't tell me different.
Man, there you go again. Everything always be about LeBron.
Kevin McHale gave away Kevin Garnett to Boston. Kevin McHale used to play for Boston. He gave it away for cheap.
Can I interject on that? Listen, at the end of the day, listen, you can't listen. Did I at the time when LeBron James went to Miami, did I like it? How I'm taking my time to Southbridge? No, I didn't like it. But at the same time, he has the right to do that. At the end of the day, this is not college. This is not a high school ball. Listen, this is a professional level. You have a brand. This is also you're not just a. So you can't. I'm not going to fault.
When you're free agent.
Hold on, I wasn't done, and I'll let you talk. At the end of the day, you can't fault that man for doing what he want to do. Like at the end of the day, that's for anybody. I don't care what the circumstances is.
I say this right here, bro. 7 years, and I'm asking you this now. 7 years. You say you don't gave it your all. 7 years, and nobody choose to bring you any help. Is you gonna continue to sit there, or you gonna do something about it?
Can I let me?
You want to choose? You want to choose to do your own thing. You want to choose to do your own thing. It's just like having an employer or company.
Let me respond to True. Hold on. True. No one is telling him, this is listen, there's cause and there's effect. You understand what that is?
Right.
What happens is, I'm not saying that this is college ball and he's not allowed to do it. I'm saying that if he does that, there is going to be an impact in the league. There's going to be an impact in
that's true.
The level of laziness.
Yeah. So what we're going to speak on is the true cause and effect of what LeBron James did. LeBron James' move he moved because he saw that GMs and front offices weren't getting held accountable, or they had nothing to influence them to build winning teams around great players. These guys could just sit back, collect checks, and just watch players dwindle away years in their prime on a team. That's what happened. Yeah. You see, the false narrative. See, this is where it all starts. It all starts with the false narrative that LeBron James is the GM of the team. LeBron James is looking at contracts. He's studying all of the draft picks in the draft. He's telling them who to draft. He's telling them to bring people in, and he's not. These guys have a job. GMs and these scouts, owners, they have a job. It's their job to develop and put a winning team on that court around LeBron James. It's not LeBron James' job to do so. So, one, let's stop with this fake narrative like LeBron James is handpicking his teams. He may handpick one player. He may handpick a certain shooter that he likes. But at the end of the day, it's on the team to go sign that player. He handpicked Carmelo Anthony. He wanted Carmelo Anthony on the Lakers, and the Lakers didn't sign him. So we know who has the control with these teams. Like, when we look back on the 90s, Jerry Reinsdorf, after winning 6 championships, said he didn't want to bring Phil Jackson back. See, in this era now, you can't be that stupid. See, in this era now, if you're a GM and you're openly saying, I'm going to bring in Tim Floyd and I'm not going to bring in Phil Jackson, a 6-time champion coach, because of my ego, you're going to get fired. And it's because of the effect. This is the effect of what LeBron James did. The effect is now we see more GMs losing their job. This is why we were talking about Elton Brand in Philadelphia potentially being unemployed. This is why Doc Rivers lost his GM powers when he was with the Clippers, because at one point in time he was the GM and he made those decisions and the coach. This is why a lot of teams want Jerry West a part of their organization, because he understands how to build a winning and championship team. This is why the Toronto Raptors GM is highly sought after, because he knows how to scout out talent and build a winning team. See, all LeBron James did was put them guys on notice. He said, you know what? If you guys want to start keeping if you want to keep superstars around, then y'all need to start performing and doing y'all job as well. Because there was far too many years in the 90s where a lot of these GMs could say and do whatever they want, regardless of how ridiculous it sounded. And there was no pressure to fire these guys. When did Jerry Krause ever talk about firing Jerry Reinsdorf? Jerry Reinsdorf is the man that ran Jordan, Pippen, and Phil Jackson out of town. And he doesn't get fired. A GM essentially broke up one of the greatest duos or teams that the NBA has ever seen. And he gets no accountability for that. We don't talk about Jerry Reinsdorf for that. We don't trash him for that. These trash GMs from the 90s, early 2000s, and all started off this era. The age of those trash GMs and front offices is over. Teams will now have to constantly find ways to be great. Now, whether these moves work out or not, we just saw the Clippers in a desperation move give up essentially everything that they had to offer for Paul George, all to sell out and win a championship. That's because these GMs and front offices are desperate to be competitive. They're desperate to win. And players are the ones making them do their jobs. Kawhi Leonard had the power to say, if you want me to come to this team, y'all got to do y'all job better. Y'all got to bring other players in around me to make this team better. It all goes back to what the guy said earlier. It all goes back to what the guy said earlier when he brought this up about race. And I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna end the video on this, y'all. In the 90s, the 80s, early 2000s, GMs and front offices in the NBA were consisted of 99.9% white people, and there was no backlash. There was no venom. There was no vitriol thrown at some of these idiots who were running these teams and making these decisions, making these trash draft picks. There was no venom or vitriol thrown at them for being extremely poor at their job while they sat back and collected checks. No one was calling for the firing of these guys. Just like I said about Jerry Reinsdorf. This man was constantly arguing with Scottie Pippen. This man did not want to pay Scottie Pippen, although Scottie Pippen was great for him. This man didn't want to pay Horace Grant. And they were so, you know how many player beefs they had with the Bulls? The Bulls were fine with each other, including the coach. They all did not like the front office. You don't, in this era, you don't hear that. The Golden State Warriors, after their great run to get into 5 NBA finals, you don't hear anything about the GMs not capitulating to what the players want. They're going to do everything possible to continuously always build a winning situation and to keep their players happy. So when he brought race into it, he was right about that, because, and we'll talk about this person right here, she's scared to say anything bad about a white person, one of these white GMs who ran teams, scared to give them any backlash for destroying the greatest team in NBA history. Jerry Reinsdorf broke that team up because of his ego. Scared to give him any backlash. Scared to talk about David Stern, who jump-started all of these expansion teams. Plucked players from whatever team that they wanted in the expansion draft. Moved players around when they didn't want to move. Changed the level of competition in the 90s because of money. But you guys were scared to criticize David Stern for that. They were scared to criticize GMs for their trash moves and trash drafting. But when a black man, LeBron James, makes a decision, again, and it's not you don't have white people. They're not complaining about LeBron James moving around. No other race is. They're all fine with it. It's a great business move. We have black people who say he should stand around and just work for the man and do exactly what he said and play with the players he's surrounded with. He's not supposed to control his own destiny. I wonder why is that? I wonder why the mentality of the black woman is that the black man is not supposed to have any power to do that. He's supposed to stay where he's at and be competitive because we want to see competitive basketball. He's supposed to stay in Cleveland because of how you feel competitive basketball is supposed to look. It's sad, y'all. It's sad how we think. It's sad how we think. Hey, that thinking right there, that's one of the reasons why broke people stay broke. Broke people stay broke because of thinking like that. Scared to go outside of the box, scared to go against the grain, scared to think and do for themselves and not care about what other people think. This is why broke people stay broke. Thinking just like that. Because again, you don't give the same ire or venom to David Stern and the NBA for what they did to tear down the level of competition in the 90s. But you instantly jump on LeBron James when he makes a move from Cleveland and goes to Miami. And he has the clout to pull Chris Bosh along with him to create a super team. That's fine. Oh, even better yet. Hold on. When Danny Ainge, a white man, creates a super team in Boston, it's fine. That's how you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to allow the GM to trade and go through the draft and do it the right way. He did it the right way. Danny Ainge, no criticism to Danny Ainge. He did it the right way. He didn't do everything. He went out and traded for superstars. He had Paul Pierce. He had Antonio Walker. They had those guys down there. They couldn't get it done. He went out and made moves. It's okay the way Danny Ainge did it. He's not a player on the court, but he did it. He did his job as the GM. He built the first super team. It's okay the way he did it. But when LeBron James does it, when we all call him a GM anyway, he's not. When he does it, venom, vitriol, ire, legacy, his legacy's diminished. He's soft. This era is soft. All of this extra stuff that comes along with it that makes absolutely no sense. I really want you guys to let me know what you think about this, man. I think it's extreme bias. I think it's sad. And again, I expect that coming from here. This is the same person that basically said, LeBron, shut up and dribble. All we want to see you do is play basketball. We don't want to hear your stance on politics. We don't think you're educated. Shut up and dribble. That's what this person said right here. So it doesn't surprise me that you would also say, shut up, stay where you're at, and keep the level of competition the way I want it to be. We're not going to hold those guys who work in those front offices accountable for doing their job. I want to see you do your job correctly, LeBron. That's what they're saying. It's sad. It's sad. But at the end of the day, I would much rather you just say you hate LeBron than start to bring some of this bullshit up. Because that's all it is. It's sad. I want you guys to chime in on this in the comments, man, because I know it got a little deeper than what I wanted it to. But this was a deep conversation. And the thing is, it's a hard conversation to have because when you have a good dialogue going on and you're able to bring up these points, like in that moment, they probably won't consider it. But at the end of the day, they have to go home and consider the fact that I've just spent an hour of my life diminishing what another black man is doing business-wise. Because again, white people don't diminish each other in the business world like that. It's only us as blacks. We only do that dumb stuff. Who cares? LeBron James, I don't care. LeBron James can pick up everything. He can pack up everything and go play in China. He can pack up everything and go play in China. Actually, all of these NBA players could go pack up and go play in China right now. There's more money for them. China would pay these NBA players over here an astronomical amount of money that the NBA couldn't pay. That's what China could do. China will be willing to do that. And if LeBron James chose to do that, I wouldn't be mad at him. There are great NBA players now who went over to China and chose to never come back. Not because they are not talented enough, because opportunities in the business over there is just much better. That's all it is. That's all it is right there. So I want you guys to chime in. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. But I really want to see your comments on this video. I really want to hear what you got to say. And with this video right here, I really need you guys to be honest and tell me your true feelings about what LeBron James did. But not just what LeBron James did. Put it into context with what the NBA has also done to shift the balance of power in the NBA. And when you think about it from that particular perspective, does it change your narrative? But FYF Sports, man, it's been another great reaction video, man. I'm glad I was able to touch on this. Again, I'm almost glad I didn't participate in this conversation. I feel like it would have just got heated, and I would have never been able to get my point across. So doing it this way, I think I can better get my point across. And for the people that actually like to go back and forth and talk basketball, I appreciate you for watching this video all the way through. But it's FYF Sports, man, another great video. We'll be back with some more reactions this week. But until then, we're out.
Still ain't got it bumping. Still ain't got it bumping. Still ain't got it bumping. Dylan got it bumping.